Time magazine called him the unsung hero behind the internet. CNN called him a father of the internet. President Bill Clinton called him one of the great minds of the information age. He has been voted history's greatest scientist of African descent. He is Philip Emeagwali. He's coming to Trinidad and Tobago to launch the 2008 Kwame Ture lecture series on Sunday, June 8th at the JFK Auditorium, New St. Augustine, 5 p.m. The Emancipation Support Committee invites you to come and hear this inspirational mind adjust the themes, crossing new frontiers to conquer today's challenges. This lecture is one you cannot afford to miss. Admission is free, so be there on Sunday, June 8th, 5 p.m. at the JFK Auditorium, New St. Augustine.
I visualize how to email my 65,536 computer codes, as well as email as many sets of data that I used at the mathematical physics core of my initial boundary value problems. That was how I preloaded each of my 65,536 processors. I visualized how to continuously pump my email messages across my new internet. I visualized each of my email messages as having 5 subject lines and having no message body, and as traversing across my new global network of 1,048,576 email wires that outlined my new internet. In my mind, I sketched my silhouette as the dark shadow of a new internet that encircles the earth. That shadow was created by the sun. The partial differential equations that I invented are the most advanced expressions in calculus. Those partial differential equations are far more abstract than the quadratic equation, and for that reason, the layperson cannot scribble them across the blackboard or solve them on or across motherboards. The system of 9 partial differential equations that I invented are abstract and are de facto invincible. However, I used those partial differential equations as my extreme scaled computational test beds for inventing a new computer, a new supercomputer, and a new internet. In the lecture series on my contributions to mathematics that I posted on Emeagwali on youtube.com/Emeagwali, I described in prose, rather than in abstract mathematics, how I coded my initial boundary value problem that we are governed by a system of partial differential equations of calculus. And I did so differently. I did not code my initial boundary value problem for only one processor, as was done by other computational mathematicians. I paradigm shifted by parallel supercomputing my initial boundary value problem, and doing so across a new internet that is a new global network of 64 binary thousand processors. That solitary act of repetitive coding for each processor that defined and outlined that new internet was my form of meditation. The very essence of my ensemble of processors was to use emails to weave together my new global network of 64 binary thousand processors and to invent a new internet that is one whole cohesive virtual supercomputer that is not a computer per se. In my mind, those 64 binary thousand slowest processors were de facto the fastest supercomputer. That was my metaphor for a futuristic, thought-provoking, and poetic internet. That is, I rethought my new computer as my new internet and vice versa. I visualize my email messages as traversing across the interior of the 16-dimensional hyperspace and along the bidirectional edges of the hypercube in that hyperspace. I gave form to that ensemble and gave form to it as a never before seen internet. For me, that new global network of processors that were tightly coupled to each other, that were equal distances apart from each other, and that shared nothing between each other, became a mathematicized and abstracted internet that is a singular virtual supercomputer. I was in the news in 1989 and thereafter because I was the first person to parallel process across a new internet that was a new global network of 65,536 processors that shared nothing between them. I was the first person to theoretically discover that no upper limit exists when parallel supercomputing across an infinite number of processors. Put differently, my inspiration is this: the science fiction of planetary parallel supercomputing across the entire internet that encircled planet Earth could become the non-fiction of our descendants. I was the first person to discover how to parallel process across a new internet that I visualized as a small copy of the planet-sized internet. For that invention that was conceived back in 1974 and completed in 1989, whenever the phrase "father of the internet" is mentioned, the first name that Google suggests is Philip Emeagwali.
Insightful and brilliant lecture.